I've been in love with James for 7 years. When I was kidnapped, James didn't pay the ransom just because his female secretary suggested to him that he should take this opportunity to make me behave. I endured the torture like hell. Finally, I learned to stay away from James, but then he cried and begged me to give him one more chance. On the day when I walked into the city center barefoot, I made the news. Ava, the adopted daughter of the James family, was kidnapped for several months. Wearing tattered clothes, dirty and smelly, with her feet full of scars and bare, she fled back in a sorry state, just like a dog. I watched the flashes of the media cameras aimed at me, snapping pictures against the clock, while my heart had long been like still water, unable to stir up the slightest ripple. The former Ava was dead. The glamorous, innocent, spoiled and lively Ava was dead. It was those kidnappers, and also James, who destroyed her. Soon, a group of bodyguards in black suits opened a way through the tightly packed crowd. The captain in the lead was named William. I knew him. During the 7 years when I pestered James, it was he who always asked me to lead James' office and private apartment. Saying asked was actually more like dragging, because I was so clingy and James was extremely annoyed. "Miss Ava, sir is waiting for you in the car. Please follow me." When William's eyes fell on me, he was startled for a moment. Obviously, he hadn't expected me to be in such a miserable state. I nodded and took a step with my injured foot, leaving blood-stained footprints on the road. My pain nerves had long been numb, and this short distance was nothing compared to my escape journey. William walked behind me and couldn't help but call out to me, "Miss Ava." I didn't answer him. Did he pity me? Actually, he should be glad that after this lesson, I would never pester James again and wouldn't cause any extra trouble to his work anymore. After getting into the car, I saw James sitting in the seat with his eyes closed, resting. His fine black hair was neatly groomed, and his delicate and three-dimensional facial features were so perfect that there was nothing to be picky about. Yes, during the time I was gone, he must have felt an unprecedented peace and relaxation. His whole state was extremely good. Hearing the noise, James slowly opened his eyes. When he saw me, he hardly recognized me at first. "Ava?" I meekly nodded. Yes, I had learned to behave. Before, I didn't care about my identity as the adopted daughter of the James family, and regarded myself as James' biological daughter, being proud and overbearing. But now, after being kidnapped, I realized that my life was in the hands of the James family. As long as James didn't pay the ransom, my life was worthless. He frowned, a bit displeased. "How did you make yourself look like this?" Like this? What did he mean? A madwoman? A beggar? I had escaped for dozens of kilometers without sleeping day or night. Besides the kidnappers, I also had to be on guard against the man-eating beasts in the suburban mountains and forests. When I was thirsty, I drank rainwater. When I was hungry, I rummaged through the garbage piles by the highway. I thought anyone would go crazy under such circumstances. I knew that he was blaming me for showing up in front of the media like this, which would bring trouble to his company. To be exact, it was the James family's company. Sorry for dirtying James' eyes. Hearing my answer, James paused for a moment, and then a smile curved his lips. She was right. You've really learned to behave. I didn't understand what James was talking about. When the car door closed and the car started, James suddenly stretched out his long arm and moved closer to me. Instinctively, I shrank back into the corner in resistance. As a result, he suddenly stopped and said in a disgusted tone, "Ava, you stink." I don't know if it was because the space inside the car was enclosed, but finally James smelled the unpleasant odor on me. It was a mixed smell of blood and sweat, after rolling in the mud and scraping against the garbage piles, and then fermenting. Hearing James' words, I subconsciously left the car seat. As a result, the car drove unsteadily and I directly knelt down in the aisle. Sorry. I won't dirty the chair. I just kneel here. It hurts so much. On my knees, there were still the blood holes pricked by the kidnappers with thin steel needles. They blamed me, saying that I was of no importance to James at all. Since they couldn't get the ransom and wasted their time, they took it out on me. I couldn't stand up, so I simply knelt and sat in that narrow space. James was instantly furious. What are you doing? Go back to your seat. He ordered me, but he thought I was dirty and didn't come to help me. I could only obey and spent a lot of effort to prop myself up and sit back. The pain, combined with the hypoglycemia I had suffered these days, forced even physiological tears out of my eyes. James had always turned a blind eye to my tears before. He only felt annoyed. But this time, surprisingly, he threw the handkerchief he had used to wipe his hands onto me. I clenched that clean and white handkerchief tightly. Before, I would have been extremely happy, but now, that handkerchief only showed my filthiness and brokenness. William glanced at me through the rearview mirror. I lowered my head. Perhaps he had never seen such a shameful and ridiculous me before. The car drove back to the James family's house. I was ordered by James to be taken to the bathroom to wash up. I refused the help of the nannies and only asked them to pick out a long dress that covered my ankles from my previous wardrobe for me to wear. They searched for quite a while and finally pulled out a regular long-sleeved dress with long skirt from the corner among various fashions, which was similar to a student's suit. No one defines what a student should dress like, but when I looked at myself in the mirror, I indeed looked more like a student than my previous flamboyant dressing style. Before being kidnapped, I had received the admission notice from a top design college abroad. And now, it had already been 3 months past the registration time. Thank you. The nannies were shocked. They didn't expect the eldest miss to thank them. But after this incident, I knew very clearly that I was essentially the same as them. They were the nannies hired by the James family, and I was the daughter hired by the James family. When I pushed the door open and came out, I saw James standing at the stairway waiting for me. He was half leaning against the railing, looking me up and down lazily, and then sneered. "Ava, what trick are you playing now? Dressing like this? Was it too plain?" James thought it was another childish behavior of mine to attract his attention, but I just wanted to cover up the scars on my body. I followed James to the dining room. There was a deathly silence in the dining room. It wasn't until James signaled me to come forward that I saw James' father and mother sitting at the dining table with worried looks on their faces. As soon as James' mother saw me, she got up and almost rushed over. Her steps were unsteady, and she was supported by a woman beside her considerately. "Mrs. James, don't worry. Miss Ava has come back safe and sound. Miss Ava, Mrs. James was so worried about you that her hair has turned white." I knew this woman. She was James' secretary. Olivia had natural black hair and was dressed in the simplest and plainest turtleneck sweater and jeans, but there was a beautiful rose gold necklace around her neck. I was safe and sound, yet in contrast, Mrs. James was so worried that her hair had turned white. As soon as she opened her mouth, I went from being the victim to the unfilial daughter of the James family. Mrs. James held me and cried, and the woman comforted her beside her. But I couldn't cry. I looked at James, and his eyes seemed to say that I was a heartless person. Finally, James' father interrupted seriously, "Don't hold on to Ava. Let her come and have dinner quickly." Mrs. James wiped her tears. "It's my fault. Ava has been wrong during this period and surely hasn't eaten well. Come quickly, Auntie has made your favorite fish soup for you." I was pulled by Mrs. James and sat down between Mr. James and her. James sat opposite me, and Olivia sat beside him. It looked so much like a family. I looked at the food in the bowl. It was excellent in color, aroma, and taste. I almost forgot what normal food looked like. I really wanted to put down the chopsticks and grab the food with my hands and stuff it into my mouth. The closer to the urban area on the highway, the stricter the sanitation management was. Gradually, I couldn't find garbage piles, which meant there was no food. So I had been hungry for almost 3 days and could only eat leaves to fill my stomach. Under everyone's gaze, I restrained myself, picked up the bowl, and scooped rice into my mouth with chopsticks. Even so, I still saw the mocking look in Olivia's eyes. She ate in small bites with chopsticks, showing her elegance. Seeing this scene, James naturally became even more disgusted with me. But under the indication of Mrs. James, he had to pick up a piece of sweet and sour pork and put it on my plate himself. Originally, I thought that even the plain porridge and steamed buns that were the most difficult to swallow before, I could gobble up now. But looking at the tempting piece of sweet and sour pork, as soon as I thought it was picked up by James himself, a wave of nausea rose in my stomach. "Ava, eat it. James knows you like the sweet and sour flavor and specially asked Auntie to add this dish." Nonsense. James didn't know what I liked at all. On the contrary, I knew his preferences like the back of my hand. For example, he liked rose gold the most. Seeing that I hesitated when I was about to use the chopsticks, James' father asked with concern, "What's the matter, Ava? Did you quarrel with James on the way back?" "Don't worry. After dinner, I'll teach him a lesson." "Dad," James called out. Perhaps he felt that it made him lose face in front of Olivia. I didn't say anything and just shook my head. I overcame that physical nausea and put the piece of sweet and sour pork into my mouth with chopsticks. Unexpectedly, the moment I tried to swallow it, I vomited it out. James had a shocked expression on his face. I immediately stood up from the stool, covered my head, and hid in the corner. Sorry. I'll eat it. Don't hit me." Everyone was shocked. Mrs. James' tears flowed down again. She came over to hug me. "Were you abused by those people, Ava? Tell me, were you?" Mr. James also came over with James. Mr. James had a look of pity on his face and looked at me full of heartache. James, however, frowned and didn't say a word. His face was terribly gloomy. What did this mean? Hadn't the kidnappers threatened the James family that if they didn't pay the ransom, would they let their adopted daughter experience the taste of being bullied? Why were they asking me now if I had been abused? Actually, giving me a moldy steamed bun or a bowl of spoiled rice wasn't really abuse. After all, what I ate later was all like swill. It's just that I was so scared of the feeling that my life was in James' hands. The kidnappers negotiated with him in person, but he chose to abandon me. He hated me so much. I thought that's where the physical nausea came from. After dinner, I was called to Mr. James' study. Mr. James, instead of being as decisive and efficient as he usually was in the business world, asked me patiently and kindly, "Ava, you've liked James since you were a child. Do you still like him now?" I quickly shook my head, very vigorously, and my face even started to hurt. I had liked James for 7 years, been humble for 7 years, and suffered for 7 years. But I didn't learn my lesson. So this time I experienced the hellish revenge and torture. I didn't dare to like James anymore. After getting my answer, Mr. James thought for a moment and said regretfully, "Well, forget it. You can't be the daughter-in-law of the James family, but you'll always be the daughter of the James family. Ava is so nice and beautiful. It's that boy James who doesn't have the good fortune." He took out a bank card from the drawer, This is what your parents left for you. There's 4 million in it. They asked me to keep it for you and said that when you grew up, I should give it to you as your dowry. 4 million. The ransom was also 4 million. During the days when I was kidnapped, I had also resented my parents. Why didn't they take me with them and let me suffer such torture for no reason? It turned out that they had already left the guarantee for me to live a good life. They loved me so much. I put my thumb in my mouth and bit it to prevent myself from crying out. Thank you, Uncle. When I came out of the study, it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. I walked towards my own room, but halfway there, I bumped into James. He saw my intention and spoke to me in an unexpectedly gentle tone. Olivia will stay in your room tonight. You can go and stay in the guest room next to mine. So it was for Olivia. I nodded and started walking in the opposite direction. When I first moved into the James family's house, James hated me and moved to the room farthest from mine, one in the east and one in the west. But my room was decorated by a top luxury designer hired by the James family. The guest room couldn't compare to it at all. But after all, it was the James family's property. Since James asked me to give it up, I would give it up. After walking a few steps, James stopped me. Ava, why are you so obedient now? I turned around and found that his expression was both mocking and seemed a bit worried. I'm sorry. I hesitated to speak. Besides constantly apologizing, I really didn't know what to say to James. This is the 3rd time you've apologized to me today. You're so strange. James walked over, bent down, and raised his hand to touch my forehead. I recoiled as if I'd been electrocuted. By the time I grasped the railing in the corridor, my legs felt weak and I could hardly stand. James looked at me as if I were a madwoman, and his expression grew impatient. I forced myself to suppress the trembling in my voice and said, I'll move out tomorrow. I've already told Mr. James. I thought James would be relieved to hear this news and let me off the hook. But to my surprise, he became angry instead. Move out? Why? I just let Olivia stay in your room. She's a guest. What's wrong with you giving it up for her? I shook my head hurriedly. No, that's not it. James walked towards me with a gloomy face, grabbed my wrist, and dragged me towards the room in the east. Come with me. I have something to say to you. A sense of fear flooded my mind. With a quivering voice, I took out the bank card that Mr. James had given me in the room just now. Sorry, I have money. Don't hit me. I have money. Don't hit me. James turned around in astonishment. I had already slumped onto the ground, my wrist still held high in his hand. Ava, what are you talking about? At this time, my lips were already bitten purple. Looking at James' face getting closer, I gradually recalled the insults from the kidnappers. A dog of the James family had the delusion of clinging to its owner. Brother James, no, General Manager James, I won't pester you anymore. I won't dare to do it again. Finally, James realized that there was something wrong with my mental state. His movements became much gentler. He put his arm around my waist and picked me up from the ground. The feeling of weightlessness made me instinctively put my arms around James' neck, and his solemn expression finally softened a little. Ava, I'm not saying you can't pester me. It's just. Before he could finish speaking, the door in the corridor clicked open. Olivia poked her head out of my room, and the light inside was bright. She covered her mouth and looked a bit surprised. General Manager James, Miss Ava. James was displeased. I've given you the room. What else do you want? Olivia answered a bit aggrieved. There's a video conference for the branch in the U.S. General Manager James, you need to attend it in person. James glanced at me in his arms, then put me down reluctantly. My body was stiff and I couldn't say a word. Wait for me in my room. After leaving these words, James walked towards Olivia, and the two of them entered the room and closed the door. The bright light disappeared in the corridor. I felt as if I had survived a disaster. Cold sweat had already soaked the clothes on my back. James wouldn't come back. Because I knew Olivia's tricks. Countless times, on my birthday, at my graduation ceremony, he was called away by Olivia like this. Maybe he really wanted to leave and really didn't want to come back. And I also had to leave as soon as possible, go to a place where I couldn't see James. I was so afraid that if I had any more contact with James, I would go crazy and have a mental breakdown. I sat on the bed in the guest room until 3 o'clock in the morning. There wasn't a single sound coming from James' room next door. During this period, I used the new mobile phone that Mrs. James had bought for me, logged into the app, and found an apartment with good security that was being rented out. As soon as it was barely light outside, the James family's house was silent. I picked up my leather shoes and walked out barefoot. When I got outside, I suddenly saw a person leaning against James' car, playing with his mobile phone. I was shocked and very afraid that it was James. That person also heard the noise and looked towards me. Then I realized it was William. I pretended nothing had happened, walked past him, and went to the roadside to hail a taxi. But he followed me. "Miss Ava? Mr. James knows that you. Could you please not tell James?" I tried to suppress my agitation. I was so close, just a little bit away from escaping. Why did I have to run into him? William was a bit confused. "Mr. James will be worried." I shook my head vigorously and started to take off my clothes. William quickly stepped back and immediately turned his head away, his ears turning red. "Miss Ava, what are you doing?" I didn't care. What was shame compared to being able to survive? That kind of thing had long been worn away by James. He won't worry about me. These scars were all left on me by the kidnappers on his orders. At this time, William looked at me. Under my coat was a white sleeveless vest, clearly showing the purplish-red whip marks, bluish bruises, and several scab scars on my arms. He couldn't believe it. These shocking scars were beyond his comprehension. Taking advantage of his daze, I quickly put my clothes back on and pleaded, "William, please, let me go. Otherwise, I'll die." This was the first time I had called him by his name. Before, I had always called him James Dog, just like the kidnappers called me. William was speechless for a long time. I quickly ran to the roadside to hail a taxi. Suddenly, a big hand grabbed me. After realizing that there were scars under my clothes, it quickly pulled back. I was on the verge of crying. "Don't." William gritted his teeth and said firmly, "You won't be able to get a taxi at this time. I'll drive you." With mixed feelings, I got into James' car again. William turned off the dash cam, just in case. "Bear with it for a while. We'll be there soon." He thought I was reluctant to take James' car, and that was indeed the case. But as long as I could escape from James and the James family, this bit of endurance was nothing. After arriving at the prearranged community by car, I sent a text message to the agent saying that I wanted to move in directly. For the sake of his performance, he greeted me with a big smile at the entrance of the community early in the morning, holding the contract and the keys. William was still worried and followed me upstairs to check the apartment. It was a beautifully decorated loft. Although the area was relatively small, it had all kinds of household items. It's 120 square meters. It's already the largest apartment in our community. Whether Miss Ava lives alone or with her boyfriend, it's more than enough. I looked at William. He didn't say a word, just lowered his head and flipped through the contract in his hand. Then he asked about things like water, electricity, and air conditioning. After making sure there were no problems, he handed it to me. I don't know why, but I trusted him a lot. Maybe it was because of his good temper when he pulled me out of James' office every time and didn't care even when I punched and kicked him. Or maybe it was because he, following James' instructions, found me in the bar and beat up those men who tried to make advances on me. Without thinking twice, I quickly signed it and took out my bank card and gave it to the agent. He swiped it on the POS machine, flattered me and William a couple of sentences, and then left happily. In the empty room, only William and I were left. Suddenly, he seemed a bit nervous. "Miss Ava, I should go back now." I nodded. I wanted to write a check to thank him, which was my old habit. But then I found that my pockets were completely empty. Right. I left the James family with nothing. I had originally wanted to take 2 pieces of personal clothing, but I didn't expect that even my own room had been occupied. Not to mention the checkbook. "William, how can I thank you?" William was slightly surprised. "No. There's no need to thank me." I didn't say anything more. Even if he needed my thanks in the future, I wouldn't refuse. William left. He still had to go back to work. Before leaving, he said, "Have a good rest." Of course I needed to rest. I even had the thought that I could finally have a rest. During the dozens of kilometers of my escape, I slept in the rain shelters in the farmland and on the low tree trunks. Well, saying slept was an exaggeration because I was always on high alert, keeping an eye out for people who might come to catch me and the wild beasts that could hurt me in the wild. After returning to the James family's house, I was also constantly waiting for a chance to escape. So when I sat on the soft bed in the guest room, I pinched the soft flesh on the inside of my thighs again and again just to stay awake. I took off my shoes and went upstairs into the bedroom. There was only a bare mattress on the big bed. Naturally, I hadn't had time to buy any household items yet. Fortunately, this loft came with blackout curtains. I pulled the curtains closed and fell onto the mattress, falling into a deep sleep. When I regained consciousness again, I heard the sound of someone banging on the door loudly. The noise filled the whole room and the entire corridor. But I had slept for too long. I sat up on the bed and didn't move. My limbs seemed to have forgotten how to move again. When I heard the lock cylinder of the door click and fall onto the floor, I suddenly snapped back to reality. Who was it? Were they the kidnappers? Or was it James? I quickly looked around the room for something to defend myself with, but found that there was nothing useful. So I got up and went downstairs. Because I was too flustered, I stumbled and fell when there were only 1 or 2 steps left. "Ava!" A clear voice rang out. I raised my head and saw William standing outside my door, carrying shopping bags, panting and looking nervous. He rushed over and helped me up. "Are you okay?" I was still in a daze, and didn't know what was going on. The locksmith outside changed the lock cylinder for the door in a few moments, and then put his tools back into his backpack. "Oh, little girl, your boyfriend knocked on the door for 2 hours, and you didn't open it." He was so worried. I held my head, feeling dizzy. It seemed that I really hadn't heard it in my sleep. The locksmith continued, "I heard that you have depression, right? Your boyfriend was so worried outside the door, afraid that you might hurt yourself. Listen to me, little girl. You're so pretty. You can do so many good things. Don't be so pessimistic." I looked at William. He was a bit embarrassed. He let go of me and walked towards the locksmith. "Master, please stop talking. I'm not her boyfriend. How much is it for changing the lock?" After getting the money, the locksmith had an "I understand" look on his face. He picked up his tool bag and said to me before leaving, "Little girl, I think this young man is really nice. Give him a chance." William closed the door with a bang and didn't dare to look at me. "Sorry." I was afraid that you might, at home, so I brought the locksmith here. But I didn't say anything. I knew that William was a straightforward person and his emotions were always shown on his face. He must have been really worried just now, which made the locksmith have that kind of guess. It's okay. I was just sleeping. Actually, William didn't need to worry like this at all. If I weren't a person who cherished my life, I wouldn't have crawled back from hell. I licked my chapped lips. Seeing this, William took out a bottle of milk from the shopping bag that he had thrown on the ground in a hurry just now, then unscrewed the cap and handed it to me. I took it and drank it in small sips. It was ice cold, as if it had just been taken out of the refrigerator. It seemed that he knew that I used to only like to drink cold milk. William looked around the house and then fixed his eyes on me. He found that I was still wearing a long dress, just a bit messy and wrinkled. William was puzzled. How long have you slept? I thought for a while. More than 2 hours? Didn't he say that he had knocked on the door for 2 hours? William's eyes became strange and he said, "Think carefully. It's been 2 days since you signed the contract." 2 days? I was a bit surprised. William was wearing casual clothes now, but I clearly remembered that he was still wearing a suit this morning. It turned out that I had slept for 2 days and 2 nights without eating or drinking. William already knew the answer. He reached out and touched the table. Sure enough, there was a layer of dust. I hadn't cleaned the apartment since I moved in. He took off his black jacket and threw it on the chair. When it landed, a layer of dust was stirred up. "Sit here." I didn't know what he was going to do. I walked over and sat on his jacket. He rolled up his sleeves and walked into the bathroom. After some noise, William came out with a wet rag and started to wipe the dining table, then the coffee table and the wardrobe. "Have a rest first. After I finish cleaning up, I'll take you to dinner." Take me to dinner? I felt quite surprised. And seeing him doing housework was also unexpected. William was James' bodyguard, a man who usually used his fists. I didn't expect that he could be so meticulous when doing housework. After about an hour, William finished wiping the floor. Then he went into the bathroom to wash the sweat off his face and came out. "Have you been waiting impatiently?" The young man's wet hair had water droplets dripping from the tips, running down his wild-looking facial features, outlining a naturally naughty smile. I nodded absent-mindedly and then shook my head. He laughed heartily, walked over and wanted to reach out to touch my head, but then he thought of something and withdrew his hand. "Let's go." I stood up and he picked up his jacket. "Is it okay to go and eat Hangzhou cuisine? It's sweet. I heard those girls all say it's delicious." Those girls should be the employees of James' company. William sometimes dealt with them. Had he even deliberately inquired about restaurants? Hearing him say that, I also felt a bit hungry. After all, I had slept for 2 days and 2 nights. Besides, that day at the James family's house, I didn't eat enough and even vomited. However, just after taking 2 steps, I suddenly felt a sharp pain in my stomach. I rushed towards the bathroom, held onto the toilet and retched. There was nothing in my stomach to vomit, so I only vomited out brown blood. Seeing this, William, who had followed me in, held my shoulders. I was so thin that his arms almost encircled me in a big loop. "Ava?" He helped me to the wash basin, and I rinsed my mouth with water. He asked me seriously, "Have you been to the hospital for a checkup since you came back?" I shook my head. Immediately, he carried me on his back, grabbed the keys, and went downstairs. I was in so much pain on his back that I couldn't say a word. In the taxi, relying on his experience, he kept pinching the part between my thumb and index finger to relieve the pain in my stomach. "Master, please drive a bit faster," William urged. The driver saw my condition through the rearview mirror and silently sped up to the maximum. I was in a daze throughout the whole process of the examination in the hospital. It wasn't until the stomach lavage was over that William came to my ward with the examination report. He sat down beside my bed, frowning as he looked through the medical records. The hospital stool was a bit low for him, so his long legs had to be spread apart with his knees sticking up high. "Do you want to be hospitalized?" he asked me. "What did the doctor say?" "The doctor said it's not necessary, but..." "Then I don't want to." I didn't want to stay in a place with people coming and going. It made me feel insecure. William was silent for a moment. "Okay, but we must come to the hospital every day from now on for dressing changes and checkups." I could feel that some of my wounds had been treated. During this period, you can only drink porridge and have some liquid food every day. Even without William saying it, I could probably guess. For 3 months, eating moldy steamed buns and spoiled food every day, and sometimes having irregular meals, my stomach must have been damaged. "William." "Yes? But I'm so hungry now." There was deep concern in William's eyes, because he had learned from the doctor what kind of things I had probably eaten. Those things remained in my stomach, couldn't be digested, and couldn't be vomited out, so I had to have my stomach lavaged. He gently put his hand on my forehead, as if to comfort me, and promised, "I'll make the porridge very delicious. Trust me, okay?" William was as good as his word. He was an excellent cook. Even the simplest porridge could be made into various delicious forms by him. Thanks to him, during this period, I felt that my body had recovered a lot. And just when I was scooping the 3rd bowl of cashew nut porridge for lunch today, William stopped me. He smiled with his eyes narrowed. "While I was making fruit juice, you little glutton ate secretly again?" Seeing that my plan had failed, I put the bowl into the sink dejectedly. He put down the half-cut fruit and walked over. "I'll wash the bowl. You go and watch TV on the sofa." I nodded with little enthusiasm. Suddenly, he pulled me back, and I was pinned between the sink counter and his body. "Are you ignoring me just because I won't let you drink porridge?" I didn't say anything and pouted, looking away. He laughed and said, "The doctor said that starting from tomorrow, you can have regular meals. I'll take you to eat Hangzhou cuisine." My eyes lit up. "Really? Really?" William had a doting expression. He let go of me, patted my back, and sent me to the sofa. Then he got busy in the kitchen again. I sat on the sofa and started fiddling with the bank card left by my parents. Besides the money that was the guarantee for my livelihood, it was also a keepsake. Suddenly, I felt that I was a blessed child. Their love had never left me. Even before the accident happened, they were still planning for my future life. William was like a gift given to me by them. I put the bank card away. Since it was my dowry, I had to keep it well. The news was being broadcast on TV. After a piece of music played, suddenly I saw a glaring headline. After the daughter of the James Group was kidnapped, she walked back to the urban area barefoot, looking crazy and not like her former self. I turned off the TV with a snap, and my breathing became rapid. I silently told myself that everything was over. I would never see those people again, and I would never see James again. After calming down for a long time, my heart finally returned to its normal beating rate. At this time, the doorbell rang. I guessed that William must have ordered some express deliveries again. After all, since I moved in, the whole loft had been designed and decorated by him. Without thinking much, I got up to open the door, but outside the door, I saw the person I didn't want to see. Olivia was carrying several bags of fruit. As soon as she saw me, she smiled brightly. "Miss Ava, I heard that you were hospitalized some time ago. I've come to visit you specially." I asked coldly, "How did you know?" Olivia thought for a moment and put on an innocent look. Of course, General Manager James told me. Dong, dong, dong. My heart was beating like a drum. How did James know? Was he spying on me? If Olivia knew my home address, did that mean he also knew it? Was he coming to find me? Get out. I managed to squeeze out a sentence and tried to close the door. But Olivia pushed against it. After being cursed at, she finally dropped the pretense and her eyes became vicious. Ava, General Manager James already knows your home address. You'd better move quickly and stop shamelessly pestering him. I'm not. Olivia snorted, aren't you? Those kidnappers must have hurt you a lot, right? I heard that they used sticks, whips, and even the curling iron you had in your bag that day. It must have been very painful when it burned on your skin. They gave you moldy food that even dogs wouldn't eat, but you ate it. My pupils shrank sharply, and I could hardly stand. The things that I least wanted to recall were torn open by Olivia. How? How did you know? Olivia looked smug. I suggested to General Manager James that he should delay paying the ransom to make you suffer. Who asked you to be a spoiled and overbearing young lady, pestering him without knowing your place? So, I hinted to those kidnappers that the harder they beat you, the faster the money would arrive. I almost broke down. Why? Why did she do this? Why did James do this? The last thread of reason in my mind snapped. I grabbed Olivia like a madwoman. I bit her and wanted to fall down the stairs with her and perish together. William heard the noise inside the house and ran to the door. Ava. I couldn't hear any sound in my ears. I had only one thought, and that was to kill Olivia. William forcibly separated us and held me in his arms. I couldn't stop crying. He pushed Olivia, who was about to rush over again, away without mercy. Olivia hit the stair railing with a bang and was in so much pain that she couldn't stand up. What are you doing? A stern voice interrupted us. James, still dressed in a suit as usual, made an appearance in a calm manner, which was in sharp contrast to every moment when I was in a wretched state. I was so pitiful. After going upstairs, James saw me lying in William's arms, and his face grew even gloomier. He turned around and helped Olivia up. General Manager James, I came to visit Miss Ava with good intentions. Who knew that Miss Ava didn't appreciate it and even rushed over to hit me? Maybe it's because I found out that she's living with William. Living together? James' anger rose. William didn't say anything. He just held me tightly and kept patting my shoulders. After seeing that my emotions had stabilized a bit, he wanted to take me back to my room, but was stopped by James. Ava, stop making trouble and come home with me. There was an order in his tone. James still thought that I was being troublesome. He tried to pull me out of William's arms, but was blocked by William. Mr. James, this is Ava's home. Ava? You call her name so affectionately. Is this the reason why you resigned? William had resigned? I raised my head, but could only see his angular jaw. While the two sides were in a stalemate, Olivia suddenly cried out in pain, General Manager James, I'm in so much pain. James looked at me and then at Olivia. Finally, he turned around and picked Olivia up. Before leaving, he left a sentence, Ava, I'll give you one more chance. If you don't come home this time, then you'll never have to come back. I was trembling with fear. William whispered in my ear, don't be afraid. I'm here. After Olivia made that fuss last time, I planned to move. My original intention was that I hoped James would never be able to find me again, but it turned out that all my actions were still under his watch. William would agree to whatever I said, but there were no suitable houses available for the moment. How about going to my place first? This address was already known by James. William was afraid that James would come to find me when he was not around. Your place? I asked back. William still blushed easily, but he had made some progress. At least he dared to look me in the eye in this situation now. Well, don't think too much. There are 2 bedrooms in my house. It's enough for us to live in. But we can't always live in 2 separate bedrooms. It was like this at my place, and it would be the same at his place. When would we actually be living together, as Olivia had said? William's eyes widened slightly, as if I had said something astonishing. I didn't blush or feel my heart pounding. Teasing him had already become something I was quite good at. Ava. I took out the bank card left by my parents and said to William very seriously, William, you know that I'm the adopted daughter of the James family, just a plaything that the James family can abandon at any time. But I also have true feelings. Although most of them are in a sorry state, there's still a little bit that's pure. I don't know if you're willing to accept this little bit of my true feelings? William's eyes turned red. He was cautious and said, Ava, your true feelings are always pure. Even if it's just a little bit, I'll cherish it more than anything. I was so moved that I hugged him. After a while, I remembered to put the bank card into his hand. Dowry. William was a bit embarrassed. Although it was called a dowry, it seemed like I was giving him a betrothal gift. He laughed and said, Honey, take it back. The dowry should be kept in your own hands. Oh, so the dowry should be kept by oneself. William hugged me back and said in my ear, The dowry is the dowry, but the money in the family will also be yours in the future. Home, I liked this word. Fortunately, we didn't have many things. William spent a day packing up, and then we moved. His house was as clean and tidy as I had imagined. I lay at the door of William's bedroom and observed. The fragrance of oranges wafted into my nose through the half-open window. It smelled so nice. Why are you standing there? Come in. William patted my head from behind. I happily threw myself onto his bed. It was so soft and comfortable. William lay down beside me. After a busy day, he was unconsciously a bit tired too. Go to sleep. I moved my head in the soft pillow, held one of William's slightly rough hands, and fell asleep. When I woke up again, it was already dark. In the bedroom, the bedside lamp was on. In the dim light, William was still working on something with his laptop. Seeing that I woke up, he quickly closed the laptop, unplugged the USB flash drive, and then brought the tremella soup from the bedside table. It was still warm. After drinking the soup, I fell asleep again. The next day, William was nowhere to be seen beside the bed. For 3 consecutive days, I took out the 3 meals a day that William had prepared in advance from the refrigerator according to the recipe on the refrigerator and ate them without any taste. I missed William very much, but I didn't know what he was doing. There wasn't a single missed call on my mobile phone. On the contrary, there were pages of calls that I had cut off. They were all familiar numbers that I used to be able to recite backwards. I planned to go out to look for him. I even wanted to go to the police station to report it. But the police couldn't even find the criminals who kidnapped me. Could I trust them? I walked out in a daze. When I was walking absent-mindedly to the entrance of the alley, suddenly someone dragged me into a car. When I woke up again, I was on the bed in my room. To be exact, it was the room in the James family's house. The room was dark. Through the moonlight shining through the window, I saw a figure sitting in the darkness, staring at me. I was so scared that I hid under the quilt. That person quickly turned on the light and came over to comfort me. Ava, I just wanted you to have a good sleep. I'm sorry for scaring you. The voice was like an obsession. I hesitated and pulled down the quilt. I felt cold all over. General Manager James. James pulled down the quilt and looked a bit hurt. Ava, Didn't you used to like to call me Brother James? I shook my head, only hoping that he could stay away from me. I felt like my chest was being pressed and I couldn't breathe on the bed. I don't dare to anymore. I'll never dare to pester General Manager James again. Day and night, this was the only sentence I remembered, a sentence that could make me avoid being beaten. James seemed to be a bit emotional too. His eyes were red. He restrained himself. Ava, I'm sorry. I didn't know that delaying paying the ransom for a few days would bring you. They clearly promised me that they wouldn't. Wouldn't what? Wouldn't beat me? He could have saved me. Those things that I didn't want to recall were always being brought back to my mind again and again. It seemed that James already knew what I had gone through, but I just wanted to know where William was. Do you know where William is? James grasped my wrist. His tone was tough, but also seemed like a plea. Ava, forget him. Let's start over again, okay? Hearing this sentence, I couldn't control myself anymore. I got up and shook him off. In the dimly lit room, my waist hit the corner of the table. Ava. I knelt down, just like when I was in James' car when he came to pick me up that day. General Manager James, please give William back to me. He's all I have left. Please, please. James wanted to come and hug me. Ava, you have wounds on your knees. Get up and talk. Get up and talk, okay? I dodged his hand and resisted like crazy. He's all I have left. James. Don't you just want me to die? Don't touch him. I'll die. I'll kill myself. James broke down and shook his head sadly. Ava, I never. How could I want you to die? Bang. I smashed the vase on the table, picked up a shard and held it against my own throat. Where on earth is William? James looked completely dejected. Ava, I really don't know. Don't move. Don't hurt yourself. I was stunned for a moment and then realized something. I see. You don't believe that I'll actually kill myself. Doctor! James shouted. The doctor and the bodyguards rushed in at the same time. I was restrained, and James took the opportunity to snatch the sharp ceramic shard from my hand. A shot of sedative was injected, and I instantly lost all my strength and emotions. The private doctors were busy dressing James' scratched hand. I'm okay. Go and check on Ava. Don't worry, Mr. James. Miss Ava just has a superficial cut. It was a minor wound, and the doctor simply wrapped it with 2 rounds of gauze. It's just that Miss Ava has serious psychological trauma and needs proper treatment. I understand. Thank you. After a while of busy work, only James and I were left in the room again. I lay on the bed, looking at the ceiling blankly. It seemed that my consciousness was floating outside my body. Seeing me like this, James almost choked up. Ava, please give me a chance to atone for my sins. I'll make it up to you. That sedative seemed to be very effective. With a calm heart, I could recall even the most terrifying memories. Make it up to me. Yes, make it up to you. How? Let me think. James seemed to see hope and excitedly held my hand. I was kidnapped for 3 months. At first, they thought I was valuable and would treat me well. They just scared me every day, saying that if they didn't get the money, they would leave my body in the wilderness. Oh, right. At that time, they would throw half a white steamed bun to me every day. I couldn't eat it, but I didn't expect that I would soon not even have this kind of white steamed bun to eat. Later, they called you and asked me to make a more pitiful cry. What did you say? You said it was none of your business, and that if there was anything, they should talk to your secretary. Not long after hanging up the phone, one of them kicked me in the stomach, and I fell to the ground with the chair. Gradually, they became unscrupulous. They found that it didn't matter if they beat a young lady like me, because no one would care anyway. So they punched and kicked me every day and took out their anger on me whenever they were unhappy. I saw James' body start to tremble. Couldn't he bear this? Then what about the rest? Later, when they didn't get the money, they gradually lost patience. Whips, steel needles, clubs, and the curling iron that I had in my bag that day. After it was plugged in and touched my skin, I could smell the burning smell. With every sentence I said, James broke down even more. He hardly dared to look at me, but he was also afraid that I would disappear in the blink of an eye. He was so conflicted and in pain. But I didn't care. Why was he putting on such an act? Ava, why didn't you wait for me to pick you up? Tell me, and I would have killed them. I tilted my head and forced a smile. The ransom didn't arrive. They said they would kill me. Do you know that? At that time, I was actually thinking that I could finally be free. I could even see Mom and Dad's faces. They were waiting for me there. But they told me to live well. I don't know where I got the strength, but I managed to escape. It was a forest at first, then farmland, and then the highway. I slept in rain shelters and on trees, ate leaves, and drank rainwater. If I was lucky enough to come across a garbage pile, I would eat some of the things that those people usually gave me, spoiled food. Like this, I walked for days and nights, dozens of kilometers, and came back to you. And you said to me, "You're so dirty." Haha. James couldn't hold on any longer and knelt on the ground. His eyes were horribly red as he looked at me, already in despair. Ava, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know about the ransom. I didn't know you came back like this. James, can you and Olivia go through what I've been through? You can't make it up to me, but I forgive you. Really? James couldn't believe it and tremblingly grasped my hand. Really, as long as you give William back to me. That night, James stood by my bed for a long time. His eyes were sunken, having gone through so many ups and downs. He still said that he didn't know where William was, so I didn't want to talk to him anymore. Until his cell phone rang, he tucked the quilt corners for me and left with a lonely figure. I stayed at the James family's house and couldn't go out. The psychologist would come to my room for treatment every day. The doctor was a beautiful lady. She never forced me to talk about my past. Instead, she told me some interesting things every day. Later, I was willing to trust her and took the initiative to talk to her and asked her if she had a lover. She said yes and showed me the diamond ring on her hand. Happily, she said that they were getting married soon. I offered my congratulations and told her about William and me. She was pleased. That night, I sat by the bed and looked at the moon for a long time. Subconsciously, I wanted to see if William had contacted me, and then I remembered that my mobile phone had been confiscated long ago. So I could only look at the moon. As I was looking at it, I pushed the window open and jumped down. The smell of disinfectant in the hospital was unpleasant. I woke up with a headache, feeling as if all my bones were falling apart. The quarrel outside the ward grew more and more intense and gradually reached my ears. No wonder Ava didn't get close to us after she came back. She must have thought that we abandoned her. James, how could I give birth to such a bastard like you? How can I explain this to Ava's uncle and aunt? Dad, Mom, I didn't expect this either. I just wanted her to behave. Slap. There was a crisp sound of a slap. Immediately after that, there were a few muffled groans from James. I thought it was James' father who hit him again. But it wasn't until I heard James' mother scream. William! William! I wanted to get out of bed, but I fell to the floor. Oh, it turned out that my leg was broken. The room I was in at the James family's house was only 2 floors high. Jumping from there indeed wouldn't kill a person. Hearing the noise, William rushed in from outside. His face was weather-beaten, and there was stubble on his chin as if he hadn't shaved for several days. William. I randomly picked up the fruit beside the bed and threw it at him. Although William was hit, he looked nervous and worried. He quickly walked over, picked me up and put me back on the bed. James' mother called for the doctor. After a general examination, the doctor said, the patient shouldn't get out of bed casually in the next half a month. There were already irreversible injuries on the knees. If you act rashly again, you might lose your leg. It could be seen that the doctor was a bit angry. William quickly apologized politely, saying that I wouldn't do it again next time. The doctor gave a strange look at the people surrounding me and said to me, if you need help or legal assistance, just come to me directly. After saying that, the doctor went out to make rounds. Well, with injuries like mine, it was inevitable that people would think too much. William came up and hugged me. He was dusty all over. I pushed him away, and then James' mother came up and hugged me. This time I didn't dare to push her away. Dear Ava, you've suffered so much. It's all Auntie's fault. Auntie didn't teach my son well. I comforted her, it's okay, Auntie. It's all in the past. James stood silently in the corner of the ward, full of guilt. He probably didn't expect that I would jump from the room either. Go over there and kneel down in front of Ava, James' father ordered. James obediently walked over. I looked at William for help, and William pulled him up. Ava can't bear it. Yes, Mr. James. The James family has raised me for so long. This time, just consider it as my way of repaying the James family. When James' mother heard this, she cried even louder, Ava, are you trying to draw a clear line with us? I shook my head. It wasn't to draw a clear line with them, but with James. Mr. James, Auntie, I was so naive before and caused you trouble. My parents passed away a long time ago. Thank you for raising me. You are just like my biological parents in my heart. James' father couldn't help but burst into tears. He came over and patted my hand. It's the James family that's sorry for you. After talking for a while, James' parents left, saying that I should rest and recover and they would come to see me again tomorrow. James stood outside the door and refused to leave for a long time. Ava, there's no possibility for us anymore, right? Hearing this, William wanted to go up and hit him, but I held him back. Yes. 7 years were too hard, James. How many 7 years does a person have in a lifetime? After being discharged from the hospital, William took me to the police station. With his help, all the criminals who kidnapped me were caught. Hey, I heard that after William retired, he went to work as a bodyguard for a wealthy family. Why did he go back to his old job this time? Hiss, didn't you hear? William was liked by the young lady of the wealthy family. But that young lady was kidnapped. William had to fight hard for love. I, as the person involved, sat outside the corridor, eating the mung bean cakes that William bought for me while listening to the gossip about myself. Little sister, why are you sitting here alone? Where's your family? I pointed to the room inside. William came out with a dark face. The 2 police officers stood at attention and saluted. William. You too, stop spreading rumors all day long. William pulled me up from the chair. The police officers stared with wide eyes, watching the little sister turn into their sister-in-law. Why not spread it? I think it sounds nice. William. Police officers. William's participation in this case after retirement was an act of bravery by a citizen. After making the record of the task, he even got a title. He was a bit embarrassed, because he did have some personal motives. What's there to be embarrassed about? Since you've done this, your name should be recorded in our family tree. William held an umbrella for me. We bought some groceries and walked home. Does your Ava family still have a family tree? Yes. All right then. You must write down this matter of mine. Or maybe I should offer incense to Uncle and Auntie tonight. Writing a letter would be too slow. After William came back, he coaxed me for a long time. When I learned that he heard that the police suddenly had a task and he didn't have time to wake me up and just put on his clothes and went out, I still felt a bit scared when I thought about it. He said that fortunately, there was food in the refrigerator for a week. He thought that he would be back in a week, but he didn't expect that I would go out to look for him and was caught by James and taken back to the James family's house. Before dinner in the evening, I nestled on the sofa, holding my ID card in one hand and checking my mobile phone with the other. In the kitchen, William was chatting with me loudly while cutting vegetables. Olivia has been arrested. The court has already filed a lawsuit against her. Yeah. James is suspected of intentional homicide. He might also be summoned for questioning. Yeah, I'll write a letter of understanding then. I don't know when. The sound of cutting vegetables in the kitchen stopped. William came behind me and suddenly hugged me. Writing a letter of understanding so soon? Why don't you write one for me? I glared at him, and William sheepishly admitted his mistake. I checked the almanac. Tomorrow is a good day. William found my missing slippers from the bedroom and brought them to the sofa to put on for me. It's an auspicious day for marriage. I kicked him. Bring your ID card tomorrow and go to the Civil Affairs Bureau with me. William suddenly straightened up, looking as happy as a puppy. He hugged me, rubbed and nuzzled me hard. I knew you were the nicest to me. On the day we got our marriage certificate, I deliberately told James' father and mother. In the evening, I took William and the letter of understanding to the James family's house for dinner. Nowadays, I can still only eat a little bit of regular meals. Moreover, William feels that everything is proper now and watches me even more strictly. James' mother held my hand and asked with a smile, "Ava, when do you want to hold the wedding? Tell Auntie in advance so that Auntie can prepare early." James' father took out a pair of jade ruby pendants. It was obvious that they were very valuable at first glance. "Your aunt made these pendants when you were 18 years old, just waiting for today." I accepted them and thanked James' father. James didn't show up throughout the whole process. When I left the James family's house, I suddenly felt that someone was watching me from behind. But when I turned around, there was nothing there. "What's the matter?" William asked me. "Nothing." James was standing in the darkness, holding a photo frame, almost on the verge of crying. Inside the frame was a photo of him and a girl when they were young. The bright Ava, the spoiled Ava, the Ava whose eyes were full of him, would never come back again.